Alright, so in this video I'm going to talk about Camunda and JDBC. If you want to save your data from a Camunda application to a database, in that case, what will be the approach? So before this, let me do one thing. I have created this project just to save some time. Meanwhile, I have done clean. So let me get the latest war file. I have done Maven install. So it will provide me the latest file. I'll deploy it, and then I'll try to explain you that how should you design your application when your application is gonna communicate with the database to do some kind of persistence activities. So let me see if it is done. Okay, meanwhile what we can do is we can see in the approach that how can we design the application. So the traditional way of designing any application where your database involved, so that time it comes like this. So these are different layer of your application. So this is your database, let's say MySQL. Maybe some tables are there, like user table or employee table, whatever is there. Now this layer in Java is known as DAO layer. Data access object. This layer is your application's service layer. So this is how they get called. Your service layer will call to your DAO layer. Your DAO layer will connect with your database layer. Then it will get the response back. It will send the response to your service layer. Service layer will prepare the response and then it will send it back to the caller. Okay. Now who can be a caller? A caller can be any web application, any web service, right? In our context, as we have introduced Camunda and there is a concept of service task, so we can say that here we will try to fit this guy. So this is the new layer or new component which is coming from Camunda. So we can say service task will be coming into picture here. Rest of the layers are the way we generally design our application with database. So here your JDBC or your JPA, your Hibernate, I mean any kind of ORM code, that will be here. Now this is your service task, so maybe from your modeler or your Bpmn will be having the service task linked. Now meanwhile I will check if the build is success. Yeah, it is done. So let me get this war file, JDBC with Camunda war. I will try to deploy this. Okay, just a minute. It was deployed before, so I will delete this undeployed file. Now I'll try to deploy this. It will take a couple of seconds. Now you can see it has been deployed. If you see the server log, okay, it will get changed. Yeah, the application has been deployed. Look at here. Now let's go back to the application. So first of all, what you have to do is you have to design your table, and in my environment I'm using MySQL and I have a table named as employee. Look at here. So you can create a simple table, like if you see the structure of employee table, so it looks like this. It is having ID, name, age, and now if you want to see the data, you can see the data also. So some data has been added before. Now, as per this layer-based solution, I have to think about the implementation which has already been done in my application. So I will try to explain that to you. Now, first of all, it's a Camunda application. It's not Spring Boot. It's a regular Camunda servlet-based application. You can look at here, process application. So I'll close this. And now, let's try to see the Bpmn first. So here is our Bpmn. First of all, I am trying to collect information about employee. So this is the information which I am providing with the help of a script task, name, ID, age. So these are some things, don't worry, this is not my age. Okay, and now it's inline script, it's Groovy script. Now next is my service task. Now look at here, it's a Java based implementation, and if you see the file name or class name, it's employee data validator task. Okay, so it's basically your service task. I'm sorry. Now if I go to my service, now look at here, the package name. I have also used the Camunda word because it's a service task of Camunda. That's why in my package I have also used Camunda.service, and there is another service layer of my application where it's only service. So now let's go to the Camunda service where employee CRUD task, or what exactly it was employee data validated task. Okay, so employee data validated task, it's a very simple Java delegate, or you can say service task. Inside this service task, what I'm doing is I'm trying to retrieve all the data which I'm putting it in my execution scope with the help of inline script, name and all other details. So you can look at here, name, ID, age. So these data will help me to configure my employee object, because I want to save data of employee. So that's the reason, that's why I have created an object of employee. If you see the structure of employee, it consists ID, name and age. So let's go back there. So I have retrieved data from execution scope. I have created an object of employee, and now next is one validation, like if you want to validate your employee. So just to show you that if you want to have some utility, like if you want to validate your employee before sending it to the DAO layer, so I have written a simple utility, validator util, which takes object of employee, and then it checks whether the ID is greater than 0 or not. If it is not, in that case it will send false, or else it will send true. Now let's go back to the caller. So once you will get it true is validated, you are also setting it in execution scope, though you can also put if else condition. If it is validated, then only you will set it. So that type of things you can do. Okay, now one thing I have to do, now look at here, till now everything is done. I have retrieved data, I have created employee, I have validated employee, I'm putting it in execution scope. If that is needed, I can do that. before this, if you want, now it's time that you should call your service layer application service. So what I'll do is I'll simply get this code from here where I have already done the implementation. Okay, now look at here. So call the service. Now you have to call the service layer, right? So employee CRUD service, first of all you have to get. Now let's see this implementation class. So I have an interface, a traditional Java approach, which interface is having a method save employee data, which takes employee as parameter. Now let's come to the actual implementation of employee CRUD service IMPL, save employee data, and here it will call to DAO data access object layer to save to the database. And now for that purpose I have employee CRUD DAO and employee CRUD DAO IMPL. So look at here. Okay, this is the actual implementer class and this is the interface. This interface also contains a method named as save employee in DAB, okay, in database. It is also taking parameter as employee. Now let's go back. So now you can correlate. Look at here. My service task is calling the service layer of my application, and my service layer is calling my DAO layer. And this DAO layer will get connect with the database to perform database specific activities. Now again I'll try to show you. So here this is your service task where you have mapped your service task, that is employee data validator task. So you need to go to employee data validator task. Inside this you have retrieved all the data, you have created it, you have validated, and then you have used service of your application, and with the help of that service you are trying to call a method save employee data. Now once you call this method, you can see it will come to the service layer, and this service layer is trying to communicate with your DAO layer, and for that purpose you have created an object of DAO layer and simply calling save employee. Now let's go there. Once you are there, now this method will help you to save your data into the database. So now it's again your choice whether you want to have a JPA Hibernate based code or you want to have a simple JDBC code to get connect. Though I have not followed all the standards because you can see a lot of hard coding, you can follow Java guideline to do these things. Maybe you can use some properties file to manage these details, but just to show you I have prepared this example here only. So first of all you have to get the connection object, then prepare the statement because I'm having parameterized query, and then first of all you need to load the driver class, and for that purpose I have already added the dependency. You also need to add the driver dependency. So I need to check my POM. Maybe I have defined it in POM, or maybe manually I have added the driver class. So let's go to POM. Okay, in POM let's check if we have added look at here, I have added dependency. Now look at here they are also saying that add your own dependency. So before this it was Camunda specified dependencies, and now it's my dependency where I have added MySQL driver dependency. You can get it from Google. And now let's go back to the application. So now I'm telling, hey, load this class. I got a logger, and then with the help of driver manager I'm trying to get the connection. It is pretty straightforward. You just need to know JDBC. So I just need to pass all the details to my driver manager, that on which port my database is running, what's the name of the database, what's the IP address, and these are the predefined string which is given by the databases. And here I am telling application constant. I got a application constant file where I have defined DB username, like his name is root, like this way. Then insert query. So you can also have an application constant where you can define all the constant of your application, like here query also I have defined here, insert into employee values this. So employee is the table name which I have already shown you before. Look at here, this is the table where I want to insert the data. So 3 question mark, 3 placeholders, because I have to pass 3 different attributes, so that's fine. Now let's go back. So once you got the connection, after getting the connection, with the help of that connection, you are saying that, hey, I want to get the prepared statement for what? For this specific query, that is the insert query. Once you got this one, you can set the things like set string. Okay, in database end, you can see all these things are varchar. All these 3 things are varchar, so that's why while setting I'm using string. Though in Java end it was integer and string, but in database end I have all string, so that's why I'm setting it here. Then I'm providing the index 1 2 3, like here column index, and then I'm processing all the data which I have received from the caller. In this context, the caller is my service layer. And finally I'm saying execute update, and I'm printing a log message. Here is my try catch. Finally, that's all, I'm returning true. Though you can check whether the data has been inserted or not, and based on that you can provide true or false, and I'm considering definitely this data will get inserted. Okay, so now I hope it's clear to you that how the layers are getting called from Java delegate or service task to the actual service of my application, and from that actual database layer is getting called. So this is how it can perform its work in a layer based solution. And you can look at all the classes. This is your service, Camunda service task, this is your constant, this is your DAO, this is your model class, and this is where your application service classes are there, and it's a validator util just to bring a standard project. So I have added these things. So these are some things which you need to add. And now next, if you want to go to your cockpit, you can go there and you can say, hey, task list, I just want to start a process. Okay, so let me try to start the process. And though the data is very much predefined, I could have taken some user task to get the data, but I have just defined it like this way. So now if I try to start this process, I need to check my server log. It will get change, and now look at here, connection created. Oh, it's 4 o'clock morning. Okay, 4:30. Data added 1. Now if you go to your database, before this I have shown you the data, and now let's see it again. Now look at here, the last one, 1999, my name, and 22. So this is the data which I have used before. My name 999, 1999, 22. So my database has been updated with the latest data which I have provided here. Though it's hard-coded data, you can have a form to collect the dynamic data. I hope it's clear to you that how to add database layer in your application and how to get connect with database, how to set it up. And if you go back to your cockpit, what's the database? If you go to cockpit and your running process instance, several number of JDBC. Now look at here. You can think why it's 4, because you can see there is another deployment before we have done. So that's why this is there. Let's go to the latest deployment. Second. Here you can see this is waiting over here. If you want, you can click and you can see all the process variable which are added in execution scope. So age, employee ID is saved, is validated, name, all the details you can see from here. And you can look at here. So this employee, it's a model object. If you want, you can click here and you can see the data for that. I hope it's clear to you. Thank you guys. So now let's go to other video. Thank you.